Good afternoon. Today is the 16th of March and it's time for yet another very vague, not particularly interesting and probably quite boring vlog. So the question for this week is, what am I doing in this 1998 Vauxhall Vectra 2.5 V6 Arctic 2 automatic? Well, those of you who've been watching the channel for a while will know exactly who owns this car. It's a very, very rare variant, this Arctic 2 model. It was a late pre-facelift Vectra B special edition based on the LS with some extra features, and it's owned by Mr. Coleman, rubbish mechanic. So the question is, what's happened to the Volvo and why have they got Mr. Coleman's car? Well, a while ago, not more air freshener incompetence viewers. Well, get rid of one of them. I hate air fresheners. A while ago, Mr. Coleman and I had a conversation about what we were going to do in terms of the Volvo when it came up for a service and an MOT, and we decided that what we were going to do would be to send the car to have a service and MOT this month. And also it would have some new tyres because the tyres were looking a bit worn. So Mr. Coleman has put some new tyres on the car. They were long sort of overdue, I think. The front tyres in particular were Ginus, and having seen what became of the Ginus, I'm not sure I'd really recommend Ginu tyres to anyone else. So we've put some iLink tyres on it all the way around because the rear tyres were a decent brand. I think they were Nexen or something, but they were quite worn as well, so they've all been replaced. White block front wheel drive Volvos do use tyres very, very quickly. They are very, very heavy on tyres. So that was fine. Service was fine. MOT, yeah. For the MOT, the car needed to have something done with the number plate lights, because that's a legal requirement to have number plate lights. And it was found out that actually number plate lights weren't faulty. It's just the wiring in the boot number plate lights, which also does things like the boot warning lights, is not working properly. And it was found that the wiring has failed in that area, and because it's a car with CAN bus wiring, like a lot of modern cars are, then it was very, very, very expensive to replace. Why they need CAN bus wiring to do things like the rear number plate lights and the boot warning light and things like that, I really, really don't know. What it means is that Mr. Coleman added up the cost of the replacement wiring that he needed, plus his labour to actually fix that, and of course we had to add up the cost of the MOT at his Uncle Neil's, plus the cost of the service and then the tyres. We've worked out that it would have been the same cost that I paid for the car last year to do all those jobs. Fortunately, Mr. Coleman offers me a preferential rate on his labour. I actually added a little bit of money on his requested amount because of the work he's done. And it sounds like what's happened is that Mr. Coleman has once again saved one of my cars from being scrapped. Because, yeah, I don't really want to pay the same as I paid for the car to keep it on the road. That's not really the most economical thing to do. It's a very sentimental thing to do, but it's not the most economical thing to do. I could have bought another car. Ironically, we've just sold the Passat. The Passat has just gone. One of my friends who I first sort of mooted the idea that she might want it back in January, once my friend who I'd lent it to and finished with it, she just didn't even borrow it. She actually just bought it because it was, you know, it's a decent enough car compared to the car that she previously had. I think I might have mentioned before, like that car was amazing. Like, it's actually got a handbrake, and you know, it's not dropping a litre of oil every 200 miles or something like that. It's actually a pretty good car. It's not quite what I wanted. I mean, you know, you've probably seen a review that I did of it in September on No Budget Reviews. You've probably seen Mr. Richardson's review of it on the Furious Driving channel. It's fine. It's just not what necessarily I would have. I was very blessed to have been offered it by a friend of the channel, Mike Humble, who had been his mother-in-law's car for many years. Actually really looked after it. We had it serviced by Mr. Coleman and then MOT'd again at his uncle's garage and all that sort of stuff. There were some issues with it. It wasn't fault-free or anything, but they're quite minor issues on that car. Particularly now we'd have the spark plugs done on it, which was relatively expensive to put some spark plugs in, which is why I don't think anybody had bothered for a while, but it runs so much better. It runs so well now, that car. It's actually pretty good in that respect. Volvo now is brilliant. Now it's got the new tyres on it. It apparently drives much better. Now we've had the boot wiring fix, which took Mr. Coleman an awfully long time to do. And he had to take various trim panels out. He had to take the rear seats out and things like that to actually get to all the wiring, which is why a lot of cars from the early to mid 2000s are going to be scrapped now if they haven't already been. Sometimes it's rust. Road 45 V6 had some rust that needed repairing on it, but sometimes it's electronic problems, and it's so kind of common with having electronic problems. Many years ago, a friend of mine had it was a 2001 Honda Civic, and the immobiliser went on that, and it was more than the cost of the car to have a new immobiliser fitted. Years ago, my friend had a 2001 Toyota Previa, and the immobiliser went on that, and it was £1,500 to have it fixed, and he just didn't bother. They just scrapped it, and this is just going to keep happening with cars of that age. And so, you know, I have had to spend quite a bit more money than I was expecting from just like some new tyres and MOT and a service to have it done. But it's done now, and that will last for a long time. If you do find canvas wiring in your car and you replace it with normal wiring, then you will have the same problem again. The wires will just deteriorate because of the way canvas wiring is. I'm sure many of you who are actually mechanically minded, which I am not, will explain to me exactly why that is. But you know, it was a right pain. The boot warning light was coming on quite a lot, so intermittently. You could just open the boot and everything like that. It would just, you'd come when the boot was closed and all sorts of stuff, and eventually I just ignored it. But now it's working, and that's great. The only thing that doesn't work, and apparently it's on a completely separate wiring loop, is the boot light. It's another canvas system for the boot light, and which completely baffles me. I was like, what's the point of putting that on a canvas system? Why don't you just put it on a simple system? So if you have any problems, all you've got to do is, you know, change some cheap wiring or just put a bulb in it. But because that's on a completely separate thing, and Mr. Coleman had taken so much out and replaced all the wiring, we just elected not to do the boot light. We'll just have to live without it. But you know, having working number plate lights and also having a boot warning light that doesn't keep going off all the time is better. Plus, you know, any number of sort of other issues that can sort of produce. So, you know, crisis averted. Thanks once again to Mr. Coleman. No surprises there. The Road 45 V6 he saved kind of a couple of years ago for the same kind of reason. You know, why do we do these things with old cars? You know, we just have such low second-hand values in this country that we just, you know, cars get written off just by the labour cost and their value, which is a whole sort of another thing in itself. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying driving this Vectra. It's not particularly what I would have, and he's did temporary repair to the headlining, and you can't quite see the rainbow poo, who is, you know, hiding in shame behind the headrest with Pudgy Bear. But it's interesting driving around with a purple car with a rainbow poo in the rear window, which is how Mr. Coleman has it. But next week I shall go and see him and return this, pick up my S40, park that up for a few days, and then go to the NEC Practical Classic Car and Restoration Show, which you are all, no doubt, I'm looking forward to seeing at the time of filming. Obviously, a lot of you will see this video after that's come out. But anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. like this video, comment below, and we shall see you again soon for some more electrifying content.